Yeah, man, this one was way too good to pass up. This one was way too good to pass up today. Pro wrestling, there's a lot of liars, there's a lot of bullshit artists in pro wrestling. Everybody's out for themselves. Everybody's trying to make themselves look better than the next guy. Tony Khan is trying to pretend he's doing better than Triple H in several different aspects. Triple H is trying to pretend like he's doing better than Tony Khan. Pro wrestling is a very weird business. It is a cutthroat business. The one thing I don't like about pro wrestling, and I know this is the shrewd businessman type of thing to do, everybody lies about how well they're doing, and then the numbers come out and we realize that they're not doing as good as they think they're doing, or they're not doing as good as they project to us that they're doing. Tony Khan is a liar. Tony Khan is a suit and tie, and he is a habitual liar in every sense of the word. And you can see how he says things and what he thinks and what he says to the media. AEW is having a great year. 2025 is our best year ever. Live gate, pay-per-view buys, this and that, the best matches, whatever excuse he wants to use. And I sit here and I think, when you say something like that, you have 2021 in the history books. CM Punk, Adam Cole, and Bryan Danielson all debuted within the same month. And you are sitting there telling me that 2025 is your best year ever. You are not doing anywhere close to the audiences that you were driving to the buildings with them on board then. You're not doing anywhere near that. So how exactly are you having the greatest year in AEW history here in 2025? Story came out yesterday. The All In attendance numbers, fabricated. They're a lot lower than Tony Khan had given to the media. The All In attendance numbers were a big lie. And the public funding details are now exposed. The government records exposed for AEW in Texas. We're going to go over it today right here on Off the Script. It is your Thursday, October 9th, 2025. This is coming exclusively from WrestleNomics and Brandon Thurston. AEW All In Texas qualified for public reimbursement dollars through the Texas Event Trust Fund program. Keyword there, trust. According to reports obtained by WrestleNomics, the governor's office initially approved just over $1 million in combined state and local funding to help cover expenses for AEW's biggest event of the year. So the governor's office approved over $1 million in combined state and local funding to help AEW cover the costs of their biggest weekend of the entire year. Keep that number in mind. AEW will end up getting somewhat less than that amount because attendance for the event at Globe Life Field in Arlington was lower than expected. The funding approval was based on estimated attendance of 33,490, including 32,500 spectators projected in February. After the July 12th show, officials submitted documentation certifying actual attendance being at 23,759, including 21,973 spectators. So I'm no mathematician here, but the comped tickets there, you see how many comp tickets there were, being that the total attendance was 23,759, but the actual spectators in the building who paid to be there is 21,973. Everybody else's staff, Globe Life field staff, AEW staff, producers, agents, family, so on and so forth. Friends, family, so on and so forth. Man, that's a huge difference from the number Tony Khan gave us at the media scrum, citing that they were near 30,000 people at Globe Life Field. What happened to the remaining people there? What happened to the difference? What happened to the 7,000 people that seemingly are missing? Liar. He's nothing more than a liar. The count of 21,973 spectators reflects the number of tickets scanned for people who actually entered the venue. The number of tickets sold or distributed, which we couldn't confirm, says WrestleNomics, could differ significantly. So what they're saying is there could be more comp tickets outside of the 21,973 that paid to be there. There could be even more comped tickets for people or people who were given tickets to actually sit in the venue to watch this show on July 12th. And I firmly believe that there are more comp tickets than are being reported here. The final estimate by WrestleTix distributed was 27,245. Now, it's not unusual for the number of tickets scanned to be substantially lower than the tickets distributed or sold. Records show that 678 suite tickets were sold, though only 274 were scanned for admission. 678 tickets were sold and only 274 were scanned for admission. That means people bought tickets and then refused to go. People bought tickets and forgot to go. People bought tickets and couldn't sell the tickets because they weren't interested in going anymore and they just left it as that and they ate the loss. Or maybe Tony Khan bought tickets and paid for those tickets just to seem like everything was on the up and up. Maybe AEW legitimately paid for those tickets and the company ate the loss for those tickets. It's very weird. Very weird. All we know is that the amount of people that were there were not there. Because the certified figure is 29% below the estimate submitted 5 months ahead of All In, the reimbursement amount will be proportionally reduced. Arlington City Manager Trey Yelverton confirmed to WrestleNomics. Still, if the funding is reduced by roughly the same 29%, AEW would end up seeing around $700,000 in reimbursements, which are intended to go towards the cost of putting on All In. The city of Arlington applied for state funding on February 4, and later that month, the Office of the Governor's Economic Development and Tourism Division approved reimbursement funding based on the city's application and an accompanying economic impact study, which projected spending from out-of-market and out-of-state visitors who would be drawn to the area's hotels, restaurants, and other businesses. The approved reimbursement of $1 million plus was largely based on a similar amount of incremental tax revenue anticipated as a result of out-of-town visitors spending in the area. When anticipated attendance is more than 25% lower than the actual attendance, it triggers proportional reduction. Yelverton said, speaking to us by phone on Tuesday, says WrestleNomics. That's consistent with the state law governing the event program, which allows the governor's office to reduce reimbursements proportionally when actual attendance is significantly lower than projected. Yelverton said he was pleased AEW brought its major event to Arlington and was appreciative of how many people it drew from outside the area. He noted that AEW has not received any of the reimbursement funding yet, which is normal. The payment process can take between 6 and 12 months to finalize, Yelverton said. AEW and the Office of the Governor did not respond to multiple requests for comment on this story. AEW will not comment on this story because AEW was exposed. WWE has also received funding under state event programs for at least 2 WrestleManias in Arlington in 2016 and 2022, 2 Royal Rumble events in San Antonio in 2017 and 2023, and Survivor Series in Houston in 2017. WWE received just over $3 million for the 2016 WrestleMania. The 2022 WrestleMania had an adjustment too, as WWE ended up receiving $5.2 million after initially being approved for nearly $9 million in funding. WWE, they typically embellish how many people are there, and they publicly state how many people are there, and then the number that they state publicly is never close to what they said publicly. So WWE does the same thing. You would think that AEW and Tony Khan being the alternative, that they would actually be truthful, upfront, and honest about how they're running their operation. AEW CEO Tony Khan mentioned in the post-show press conference that the attendance at Globe Life Field that night was, and I quote, "I think close to 29,000 when it's all said and done. Gee, I wonder how he got to that number. Maybe Tony bought tickets himself? Maybe Tony tried to up the ticket amount so that he could brag that their first full United States North American All In is a huge success. 29 is vastly different than 21. Nowhere close. I think close to 29,000 when it's all said and done, a number closer to WrestleTick's estimate of tickets, out just over 27,000, then the scan count of just under 22,000. In the days leading up to the event, Tony Khan said in an interview that the gate had passed 2.5 million and that he expected to surpass 3 million. The city's application listed several associated events that were seemingly slated to take place in the Arlington area, but were never announced. I'll get to that and show you in a second. The July 11 Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor show did happen at the Esports Arena, or the Esports Stadium, and the StarCast convention took place at the Sheraton Hotel. But also listed in the application were CMLL and New Japan events, as well as 2 music events which apparently didn't make it past the planning stages. But they were allotted funds for the week to get all of their stuff to the city of Arlington. They gave them this roll call of shows that were supposed to happen, events that were supposed to happen, and then AEW delivered on none of them, really, outside the Supercard of Honor show and StarCast. Why? I'll get to why in a second. So, what you guys see on screen now, I'll throw it up, is the list of events that were supposed to be during the week of All In. Now, 7/8/25, as you see, 8 a.m., was a load-in. Obviously, all the techs and the production and all that stuff to set up, load-in. 7/9, AEW Dynamite live on TBS. 7/10, Globe Life Field, Esports, load-in for Globe Life. Then we got the CMLL Lucha Libre Resurgence that was supposed to take place. I don't remember any Lucha Libre show taking place. Then you got StarCast Legends Autograph Convention that happened at the Sheraton. Then you got this one, which never took place, AEW Music Showcase featuring Fozzy and Swerve Strickland. That's funny. Chris Jericho wasn't on television for the entire duration of the All In build. The last time we seen Jericho, I believe, was in March of 2025. Yet they don't have any problem promoting Fozzy to fill commitments for an AEW show. Fozzy didn't show up. This show never happened. Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor did happen. New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Style. I don't remember that happening. And if it did, I didn't hear about it. StarCast Legends Autograph, again at the Sheraton Hotel. AEW Fan Fest and Collision live on TNT. All In Globe Life Field. Then load out of Globe Life Field. More StarCast Legends Autograph Convention, and then load out. Goodbye, back home. So CMLL Lucha Libre, New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Style, they never took place. And this AEW Music Showcase never took place. Why didn't they take place? Why did AEW give them a list of shows that they were committed to putting on for the economic environment in Arlington, to bring people into Arlington? Why didn't they put these shows on? Why didn't these shows go on? Because there isn't a genuine interest for All In. There isn't a genuine interest for AEW in North America. You would know that by watching the show. You would know that by looking at how they operate business. Nobody gives a shit about AEW here in North America. Maybe overseas they do, but nobody gives a shit enough about AEW here where they can go and put on a show like this and have it be successful. Now, granted, they did 2.5 million, 3 million gate, which is probably the second largest gate in AEW history out of the third. The first and second All In at Wembley, and then this one. They'll be back at Wembley next year in 2026, but they ain't getting anywhere close to the second year of Wembley, where they drew 50,000 people. Third largest gate in AEW history. It's easy to do that when you bring 20,000 people to the venue. But most of the tickets that they sold in the beginning stages of when these tickets went on sale is the majority of the allotment of tickets. They did nothing to enhance tickets sold. They did nothing to ensure that this show would be a resounding success. They did nothing to entice people who did not buy tickets early on to come out and buy a ticket for the show. If they did and did it properly, then they would have genuinely had 30,000 people inside Globe Life Field, a stadium that fits 42,000 people for a Texas Rangers game. They should have been in the vicinity of 33,000, 34,000 people, minus the stage setup, obviously. They should have drew that many people if there was genuine interest for AEW here in North America for All In. Meanwhile, Tony says that there were 30,000. Then we got a number of 27,000. Then we got a number of 23,000. And then we got a number of 21,000. At the end of the day, you now realize that AEW is full of shit. Tony Khan is a liar. And if they're comping this many tickets for All In and giving away this many tickets for All In, what do you think they are doing for their regular shows so that their regular weekly television shows look suitable for a television product on TBS and Max? You don't think they're comping tickets for Dynamite and Collision? If they're comping tickets for this, you don't think they're comping tickets for their regular show to make it seem full, to make it seem bigger and more lively, and that they're sold out and that they're a success? AEW is not selling the amount of tickets that Tony Khan projects to the media. He's a liar. Does he think we're stupid? All you need to do is listen to the show. You don't even have to watch the fucking show. NXT and TNA had a showdown show on Tuesday. They were at the WWE Performance Center, which holds roughly 300 fucking people inside a gymnasium. They were louder than the AEW show that went head-to-head with them on Tuesday night, which they foolishly called Title Tuesday. They fit 2,500 in Daly's Place, a venue that they easily sold out every time they were there in the beginning stages because that was their home base. How many tickets did they give away to that show to make sure it was full for their homecoming show? I don't even want to know. They couldn't barely give those tickets away. That place, I've been there. I sat in Daly's Place. I know how great of a venue it is. That venue holds 5,000 fucking people. They didn't even have half that for Tuesday's show. The NXT show at the gymnasium was louder than the 2,500 people that were in Daly's Place. And yes, I understand that it's an outdoor venue and the sound travels up and into the sky. I get it. But if AEW was so popular, none of that would matter. None of that would matter. 400 people, 300 people inside a gymnasium were louder than AEW at their home away from home. The list suggests plans that would have had the week of All In, further resembling a WrestleMania week. Brandon Thurston goes on. A Lucha Libre Resurgence CMLL show was listed for Esports Stadium on Thursday evening before All In. Never took place. Then Friday was to include an AEW music showcase at the CBD Kratom Backyard, a concert venue close to Globe Life Field. The event was to feature Fozzy, Chris Jericho's band, and Swerve Strickland, who is not only a wrestler, but he's also a musician. For Saturday morning, they wanted this music showcase to be what Wale Mania is for WrestleMania. They wanted all their rap buddies on stage, and they wanted Jericho out there with Fozzy because he's a rock star, Chris Jericho. Love Rich Ward, by the way, his guitar player, great guitar player. This is not Wale Mania. This is not WrestleMania. You don't have the interest for All In that WWE has for WrestleMania. It's fucking laughable. You're trying, you're thinking that you're ready to play with the big dogs, but you are not ready to leave the little fucking itty bitty indie sandbox that you've, projected on national television every single week. You can barely tell a fucking story on television cohesively from week to week. You think you're going to build a fucking week in a city and pretend like it's your WrestleMania? You drew zero interest for these shows. A CMLL show, a New Japan show, and Fozzy with Swerve rapping. You drew zero interest. None of this shit flies here. When are you going to understand? When are you going to realize that what you are doing, the way you are conducting business, is not generating interest? For Saturday morning, New Japan Pro Wrestling was supposed to have Strong Style at Esports Stadium. Then later in the day, AEW Fan Fest and Live Collision at the Backyard were to take place. Sounds like and it looks like it's from a fucking backyard every single week, never mind All In. Collision ultimately aired live from the Curtis Colwell Center in Garland, about an hour drive from Arlington, and on Thursday after Dynamite aired live from the same venue the night before. We couldn't confirm whether the unannounced events were affected by ticket sales for All In, but alongside the attendance estimate that was roughly 29% too high, the details suggest expectations may have outpaced demand. There was zero, and I mean zero, demand. There's plenty of data, however, to show that thousands of fans traveled to the area to attend All In. Government records indicate that at least 6,258 fans came from outside Texas, and at least another 4,628 came from elsewhere in Texas, but outside the local market. Those figures are almost certainly higher because 5,255 spectator residences couldn't be determined. The data submitted to certify the attendance and justify the reimbursement funding offers a glimpse into the travel wrestling fan phenomenon, showing how far attendees came to see All In. Attendees from 49 of the 50 U.S. states, Wyoming, the least populated state, was left out. Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. were accounted for. Fans from at least 23 different countries attended. After the U.S., leading countries were Canada, Mexico, the U.K., and Australia. This isn't the first time AEW has received government subsidies for events. AEW was projected to receive $373,388 in tax credits related to Double or Nothing 2024 and the accompanying Collision. The company received a tax credit worth $2,134,560 for events in Ohio. A contract with the city of Arlington shows that AEW paid $23,000 to rent the city-owned esports stadium where the Ring of Honor pay-per-view took place and which the company occupied from Thursday to Saturday. But this is a business that's not predicated on making money. CM Punk is always correct. And I always go back to that. WWE is now in a position, and you would think AEW is if they were hot and it was a product that was in demand, they wouldn't be paying to rent a venue. The venues would be paying them to come and host their show. They paid $23,000 to use Esports Stadium from Thursday to Saturday. They paid. The city did not pay. AEW paid the city. Draft of the venue agreement show AEW proposed a variety of changes to the contract, which ultimately were not a part of the executed contract. One draft of the contract shows suggested changes from a member of AEW's legal team that highlights the company's efforts to control information. AEW sought to insert provisions that would have committed the city to keep secret any attendance information and help AEW make trade secret claims if there was a legal requirement to publicly reveal the numbers. So AEW made revisions to keep everything from being released. They did not want this information released. They wanted this information to be kept secret, their attendance information to be kept secret. But if you were having such a great 2025, what is there to keep secret? You would be boasting about how successful and how great All In Week was. What is there to keep hidden from the general public? What is there to keep secret? What information is out there that you don't want us to know about? Is it the fact that you had nowhere near 30,000 for All In and more closer to 20,000, 21,000? The fact that you fucking lied to the general public, lied to the fake wrestling media who took your bullshit and ran with it because that's what you pay them to do. What about Meltzer? Is Meltzer going to report on the real number of All In, or is he going to run with the fabricated number that he got from Tony Khan, which is closer to 30,000? Is he going to show some true journalistic integrity and swallow the bitter pill and realize that what he's doing is actively harming AEW more than it's doing good? You're going to reveal the real information? You got no problem when WWE wants to fake their fucking numbers for WrestleMania. You're going to come out and reveal the fake number for All In too? Like, we knew WrestleMania and WWE fabricates. It's a Vince McMahon thing. It's a show business thing. Tony Khan's is not in show business. Tony Khan is in pro wrestling. He wants to pretend like pro wrestling's a real sport. He wants to boast about this is where the best wrestle. This is where the best compete. This is sports. This is not sports entertainment. They're allergic to sports entertainment. So what is it? What is it? Who's going to own up to the truth? Who's going to stop lying? Who's going to reveal the real information? Clearly, AEW doesn't want to. They want to hide it from you. They want to hide the fact that everything is not great. Everything's great. Everything's great. Return the feeling. We're restoring the feeling. Bro, they can't give tickets away for this fucking show. They can't give tickets away for people to attend AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision. Got no problem telling the fucking roster to go out there and blast the fucking fans for the obvious criticisms of their product, because everything's great. You're not allowed to say anything about AEW. You're not allowed to give your opinion on AEW. Who are you? Motherfucker, who am I? Look at Brandon Thurston exposing AEW for the liars that they are. The suggested confidentiality clause would have the city agree to not publish or disclose attendance figures, turnstile counts, drop counts, ticket numbers, revenues, box office receipts, and similar information except when disclosure would be legally unavoidable. I don't know how any of you trust and support this company. I don't. Even then, AEW's language would have bound the city to notify the company in advance and assist in claiming AEW's attendance information is a trade secret under Texas law. Another suggested clause would have sent legal disputes, if there were any, between AEW and the city into private binding arbitration instead of public court. Like at least some of its talent contracts, AEW wanted its counterparty to waive its right to a jury trial and handle litigation only in private with AEW's chosen arbitration provider, JAMS. Those clauses didn't make it into the final version because Yelverton told us agreeing to it wouldn't have complied with the state law. Texas statutes establish limits under which government entities can resolve disputes in arbitration. This is not an unusual request to receive, Yelverton wrote to us by email on Wednesday, but it is an easy response because it is not allowed under state law. The full language of the suggested arbitration clause may give us insight into AEW's preferred language for these kinds of agreements that aim to keep lawsuits hidden from public view. The suggested clause included a carve-out acknowledging that the relatively new ending forced arbitration of sexual assault and sexual harassment acts prohibits pre-dispute arbitration agreements in cases of sexual misconduct. We're getting into completely left field here. Other suggested edits, also not part of the executed agreement, show AEW sought full control of event-related sponsorships. AEW also wanted to write in a favorable merchandise split, getting 80% of sales and 90% of certain items, including media replica belts, masks, and autographed items. Yes, because they're not making any money. Yelverton said revenue splits were removed because it's their long-standing business practice at the venue for the city to retain all revenues from concessions that they sell. Yelverton explained they do, though allow leaseholders like AEW to retain all revenues from ticket sales and concessions that they sell like merchandise. We do sometimes receive similar requests, but our practice effectively predetermines that revenue split so that the event and the city facility both have opportunities to capture event revenue. As we reported, says Brandon Thurston, previously, emails between AEW staff and the City of Arlington personnel obtained through our public records request indicate AEW is loosely scheduled for a residency at Esports Stadium, possibly overlapping January and February in 2026. AEW is so great that they're having a residency in New York City at the Hammerstein Ballroom in December, and right back to another residency in January of 2026. But everything in AEW is great, and everything in AEW is the best ever. There's a lot of lingo in there that I'm not going to comment on because I don't really know a lot of it, to be quite honest with you. The point I'm trying to make is why is everything so secretive? What is there to keep secret? Why don't you want the turnstile numbers? Why don't you want the revenues? Why don't you want the numbers, the figures announced, leaked to the general public? Because you lied. They lied. AEW lied. Tony Khan lied. AEW, they boasted about a resounding success of AEW All In. Everybody jumped on board. All the sickos, all the fake media, all the fucking absolute fucking grifters who push the narrative of pro AEW and anything bad about AEW, I block, delete, and I get rid of. I can't stand to hear it. It's not good, man. You're being mean. We need an alternative. Those people don't want to hear this news because their company and their hero, Tony Khan, lied. What's so secretive? The fact that AEW All In wasn't as successful as the company boasted it was? You're an alternative. You're supposed to be the competition. You're supposed to be, by all accounts, better. You're supposed to do things differently. You're supposed to do things a little bit more honest and upfront with the fan base because that's what you built your reputation on. And here we are, Tony Khan. Again, I'm going to say it. Not only with what he's done creatively, not only what he's done to drive the product down even further. The ratings are in the toilet. The demo has been cut in half. The overall viewership has been fucking cut by 65% from where they were. Tony Khan is basically Vince McMahon without the sexual allegations. He is just like everyone else. But like everybody else, they at least knew how to run a business. Tony Khan does not know how to run a business. He wants to pretend like he's running a business, and he wants to pretend like the numbers are what they are, and in actuality, they are not. And that's what AEW is, folks. The fact of the matter is AEW is a pretend business. They want to pretend like they're a pro wrestling business, but instead, they are a pro wrestling company that is operating with indie mindset, indie-rific matches, and fucking complete garbage storytelling from a week-to-week basis that nobody wants to watch anymore. They have not adopted the real way to run a business. They are still stuck in their indie-rific ways, and they will continue to do what they want to do until the company ceases to exist. Tony Khan is basically pretending to run a pro wrestling company. He wants to run a pro wrestling company and do nothing that comes with the effort into running an actual business. I don't really know what else needs to be said. If you think that this company is honest and upfront with you on how things are, they announced that they had 30,000 people for All In, and the real number ended up being just a little over 21,000 people. You know, they actually sold around 15, 16, 17,000 tickets during pre-sale. So they moved the majority of their tickets for All In when the pre-sale went up. And they didn't move many tickets thereafter. Gee, I wonder why. You did little to no promotion about your fucking show. All you did was promote matches, and you put matches together with no fucking rhyme or reason. You got to give people more than just great pro wrestling to come out and pay money to sit there and watch your biggest show of the year. If you put actual effort into giving the matches some fucking meaning, And maybe everything else would have fallen into place and AEW wouldn't have to be secretive about hiding their numbers. Or maybe they should have ended the Death Rider story 7 months ago and none of this would be a fucking issue. Because honestly, let's be real, who wants to travel to fucking Arlington in the middle of the summer to watch the fucking Death Riders when they were death to AEW television for 7 months before that? People checked out long before we got to All In. Why do you expect people to buy a fucking ticket to see the Death Riders? They didn't want to see them in January. What makes you think they want to see them in July? Tony Khan's got nobody else to blame but himself as to why AEW All In failed at driving actual fan attendance the way that he dreams of. 21,000 is not 30,000, and I don't know how anybody ends up supporting this company with the habitual lying that happens every single fucking month after every single show with every single media phone call. Thank you guys for your support. If you guys want to chime in below, I'd love to hear what you think about this. I read the entire article. Thanks to Brandon Thurston for this. WrestleNomics, go check that out. Great detail, great work there by WrestleNomics and Brandon Thurston. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you think of all this. If you know something I don't and you want to educate me on something, please sound off in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Hit that thumbs up. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications, and please go check out all the content on the channel. There's plenty of it. Hit that subscribe button as well on your way out, and I will see you guys back for Friday Night SmackDown right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.